Good evening. It's time for another stream of Spirit of Justice. So, last time we started on the special case, and it's gonna be a bit of a doozy, I think. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to prove that our client didn't do this and also figure out who actually did it. Good morning, Mr. Wright. Good morning, Ellen. I see you're still wearing your wedding gown, and I will continue to wear it until our marriage is safe. Also because it saves on having to design different outfits. You think he came to see how she's holding up? Soren, my love, you came all the way to the courthouse just to see me? Oh, Soren, I don't know what to say. Blueprints. Huh? The engine blueprints. I can't find them. Do you know where they are? Oh, they're in your room, third shelf from the bottom, on the right-hand side. Ah, I see. He's leaving already? Don't tell me he came just to ask about some stupid blueprints. Is he really that cold of a person, or is that just how he comes off, I wonder? What about me, Soren? Ellen, he's back. Come home soon. I'm lost without you. Later. It's like showing your vulnerabilities is the fastest way to capturing a woman's heart. You should take notes on this, Nick. Please leave me out of this. Anyway, it looks like Soren isn't big on words, but it's clear that he cares about Ellen. Knowing that, I actually feel kind of relieved. Mr. Wright, I just absolutely can't be found guilty, you hear? Don't worry, I'm going to do everything I can to prove your innocence. Thank you, Mr. Wright. No, it's different. Trial is about to start, sir. Edgeworth. Knowing him, he's not going to yield an inch. So I've just got to fight with everything I've got and save Ellen. Court is now in session for the trial of Ellen Wyatt. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution has been ready for a while, Your Honor. Seeing so many familiar faces gathered together like this, I feel as though I'm at a grand reunion. Makes me want to go out for dinner and a drink and reminisce with all of you. Oh, that sounds like a great idea. I was dying for a real burger the whole time I was away. We could make it a welcome back party for Maya. How about it, Edgeworth? I have no intention of cavorting with my enemies. Now then, Your Honor, let us start this trial at once. Oh, still not one for light-hearted banter, are you, Mr. Edgeworth? Jokes and good humor are beyond worthless in a court of law. Guess we'll just have to have the party without him, then. However, were it after the conclusion of this trial, I might consider joining you for your little welcome back party. Of course, he's all business until business is concluded. Certainly wouldn't mind an invite at the very least. He's still as emotionally constipated as ever, I see. Now then, Mr. Edgeworth, if you could please go over the details of this case for us. The victim was Dumas Gloomsbury, a servant in the Sprocket household. I gotta say, maybe I'm just not seeing it, but there don't seem to be that many puns in these names. Not that I mind you, it's fine, it's weird to be having a case where there's not just like puns with every other name. Anyways, the victim was Dumas Gloomsbury, a servant in the Sprocket household. He was in attendance at the wedding reception that occurred from 7 to 10 p.m. Mr. Gloomsbury apparently felt some animosity toward Ellen Wyatt, and so, a bit after the reception ended at 10 p.m., he assaulted Miss Wyatt with the intent to kill her. The defendant fought back and ended up killing Mr. Gloomsbury. In other words, it was justified self-defense, correct? If that's the case, then the defendant might not be criminally responsible. He's right. Worst case scenario, I could go for self-defense to avoid the criminal charge. I wonder how Edgeworth plans to counter that, though. Prosecution's first witness will make my view on the matter clear, Your Honor. Very well. Bailiff, please bring in the first witness. Emma. Okay. So, something about the evidence, then. Please state your name and occupation, witness. Emma Skye, forensic investigator. And I'd just like to say, sir, that being in the same courtroom as you is a great honor. Oh, yeah. She was always a big Edgeworth fanboy. Or fangirl. Well, that's right. You're a fan of Edgeworth's, aren't you, Emma? Yeah, I don't think she's ever actually been in a case where he's the prosecutor before. I mean, aside from the one way back when, before she became a forensic scientist. We're good friends and all, Mr. Wright. But just this once, I intend to faithfully and fully testify for the prosecution. And I do mean that wholeheartedly. I expect no less from you. Yes, sir, I'm going to do my very best. Looks like you lost the popularity contest to Mr. Edgeworth, Nick. Meh, I really could care less. Besides, she'll see who's the better lawyer once I win this trial. Yeah, maybe then you'll actually really care less. Now, Detective Skye, if you please. The murder weapon was a clock called the Timekeeper. The victim was hit with it from behind, and he fell over right into the lantern. The defendant was spotted then, standing in front of the body holding the murder weapon. The victim was struck twice, by the way. He was struck twice? That's right. There's no mistake about it. The first blow was to the back of the victim's head. It was hard enough to knock him unconscious. Yet, despite the fact that he had been immobilized by the first blow, the defendant delivered a second, fatal blow to the side of the victim's head. Which means what exactly? I figured it would go right over your head. Let's put it this way. By striking the victim a second time, the defendant killed her last chance to escape from any criminal wrongdoing. She did? But how, Mr. Edge? Well, because if he was unconscious and he still hit her, then it's not self-defense. She was being attacked. However, she then went on to deliver a fatal blow to a man who was already fully unconscious. Yeah. Nick, is he saying what I think he is? I don't feel so well. And thus, Mr. Wright, has justified self-defense been removed from the table. The prosecution intends to prove the defendant killed the victim with murderous intent. Allow me to belatedly submit the victim's autopsy report. Well, at least it's not an updated autopsy report. More smug than usual. It's fine, right? It's not like we were going to plead self-defense anyway, right? I don't have it yet. Right, but now the judge has a negative impression of Ellen. He may not get to prosecute much anymore, but he definitely hasn't lost his touch. Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. Same weapon, huh? Also, time of death 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Let's... Hold it! Are you completely sure the murder weapon was the timekeeper? Yes, completely. The shape of the injury on the victim's head matches up with that of the timekeeper, and it's definitely heavy enough to kill someone with. But would the defendant have been able to pick up and swing something so heavy? I tried it myself, and I was able to lift it up just fine. Maybe you're just freaks. Phoenix. Excuse me, Mr. Wright? I'll have you know that people in the force know me as the dainty forensic investigator. Sorry. Really, you're hardly a delicate flower. Mr. Wright, this is a court of law. Save your antics for after the trial if you know how. Yes, sir. It won't happen again, sir. Moving on. Hold it! The defendant was fighting back against the victim, right? If so, wouldn't she have hit him from the front and not from behind? The victim must have tried to run once Miss Wyatt started fighting back. It's probably when he got hit from behind. I see, thus the blow to the back of his head. The defendant must have looked awfully scary when she was brandishing that clock. I don't know about that. Regardless of how scary Ellen looked, the victim was definitely hit from behind. May I go on? Yes, of course. Please do. Hold it! But that's only because she was so panicked when she found the body. She tried to use the timekeeper to go back in time. Objection! Mr. Wright, do you have any idea how absurd you sound? Miss Wyatt really believed she could travel through time with that clock. You really should have come up with a more credible story, you know. Yes, I agree. Me three, but it's all I've got to go on. Anyway. Struck twice. Hold it! Miss Wyatt must have had a chance to escape after she struck the victim the first time. So why would she stick around and hit him with such a heavy object again? Well, about that, allow me to explain. Why did she strike him again, indeed? To finish off the victim, of course. This very act clearly shows that she had every intention of killing Mr. Gloomsbury. Miss Wyatt would never... Then let's see some evidence that disproves my theory. I'm going to stand there and take that from him, Nick. Can't refute his claim head-on, so I'll have to approach it from a different angle. Well, it looks like we won't be going anywhere until we can refute Edgeworth's claim. This is so exciting. We haven't taken on Mr. Edgeworth in ages. Yeah. Okay, Nick, now go get him. You need to rush me, Maya. Alright, better start by comparing Emma's testimony with the evidence we have, and look for any glaring inconsistencies. Well, I guess the first problem is, if he was hit from behind and he fell over, how is it that wouldn't he be face down if he was, like, presumably falling forward into the lantern? Then he should be flipped over. That seems like the most obvious issue.
Objection!
Detective Skye, I'm afraid I have to apologize in advance. For what? For embarrassing you in front of your idol. But what do you mean? If you take a look at this photo of the crime scene, you'll see the victim is lying on his back. But if the victim had been hit from behind, as you claim, then he should have fallen over into the lantern face down. Yeah. It's not enough to simply take someone's side, Detective Skye, even if it's Mr. Edgeworth's. There does appear to be a flaw in Detective Skye's testimony. Also, if he fell into the thing, how are you going to hit him on the side of the head? Like, it's too big to fit in there. Mr. Wright, if you think I'm going to just back right down, then you're sadly mistaken. Isn't usually fired up today. Don't forget, she's in front of her hero, Nick. If the Steel Samurai came to watch this trial, I'd want to do my absolute best, too. Listen, Mr. Wright, it's entirely possible that the defendant moved the victim's body after he fell over. In that case, there wouldn't be any contradiction, right? Indeed, that was an excellent counter-argument, Detective. Count on me, sir. So, what do you have to say to that, Mr. Wright? Is it possible the victim's body was moved after he fell into the lantern? Well, if she had to hold it with two hands, then I would say it's pretty improbable, because she would have to set the thing down, flip him over, and then how are you going to hit him on the side of the head? So this seems like it's not going to work. Sorry, Detective, but there's no way the victim's body was moved after his death. Oh, really? And what makes you so sure? I'll look at this here and it should become obvious. I guess because of the stuff that's on top of him? Because if he was moved, then that stuff wouldn't be on top of him anymore.
Take that!
Those broken bits of the lantern? Yes, if the body had been moved after the fact, these fragments would have fallen off of it. But as you can clearly see, they're lying perfectly undisturbed on top of the body. This means that the victim must have been lying face up from before the lantern even broke. You're right. But wait a minute. If that's true, then when was the victim killed? I mean, the lantern was still whole during the reception, right? Right, which means we've just overturned a major assumption about this case. The victim was already dead before the lantern was even broken, and the body must have been inside the lantern since before the reception started. In other words, the defense asserts that the victim was killed before the wedding reception. What? That doesn't match up with the time of death. Wasn't the reception from like 7 to 10? In short, when Miss Wyatt was seen standing in front of the body after the reception, it wasn't the moment just after the murder was committed. It was the moment she happened to discover the body, just as Miss Wyatt claims. Huh.
Objection!
Whether the act was committed before or after the reception is entirely inconsequential. After all, it was the defendant who prepared the reception hall for the event in question. Therefore, when the murder occurred, changes nothing with regard to her guilt. She could have killed the victim before the reception, as you claim. Wait. So, if he died before the reception, then when was he trying to kill her? Like, when did all that happen? Something's weird here. And then tried to hide his body in the lantern after the event ended.
Objection!
Sorry, but that doesn't make any sense. I mean, where would the body have been hidden during the reception in your scenario? That's... Even you have to admit, Mr. Edgeworth, that this has opened up a new possibility. To explain, Mr. Wright. Well, if Miss Wyatt didn't commit the crime in the reception hall, then that means someone, somewhere, put the victim's body into the lantern. I suppose that makes sense. A dead body couldn't have put itself in there. Exactly, Your Honor. In other words, if the murder actually occurred before the reception, it opens up the possibility that... I think maybe he was actually killed somewhere else. Because of this whole thing with the statue being wrong. The body's hidden inside the lantern, and it's possible the body was moved along with it from somewhere else. Oh, you're right. You can run that mouth of yours all you want. But do you have any evidence to support what's coming out of it, Mr. Wright? Of course I do. The answer lies in that piece of evidence, and in something that was left at the crime scene that will point us to where the victim was really killed. Very well, Mr. Wright. In that case, what proves that the lantern and the body were moved from somewhere else? Petals were from flowers not found inside the reception hall. I guess that would be it. I mean, there's also this picture, but this one shows a normal cow, so I don't think this is the one he was killed in. Although those petals are there. Proves the murder took place somewhere other than the reception hall. Afraid I can't say that I follow. A piece of evidence won't help you make your point. Okay. I might be jumping the gun on that one. That's probably the one I present after this one.
Take that!
Photo of the victim again. Yes. I'd like the court to focus on this thing right here.
Take that!
Flower petals, Mr. Wright. Yeah, I probably should have gone with this one first. These petals are from a kind of flower that were not present in the reception hall. This means they must have gotten into the lantern when it was somewhere else. And just where do you propose this somewhere else to be, Mr. Wright? I propose that this piece of evidence will tell us where the flower petals came from. Now I present this one. Please take a look at the flowers in this picture of the hole. Notice how their petals are of the same shape as the petals in the crime scene photo. Yes, I see. They do look to be from the same kind of flower.
Objection!
Is that really all you've got? A flower is a flower is a flower. They're all the same. I would hardly call what you presented compelling evidence. I'm afraid I couldn't disagree with you more, Mr. Edgeworth. I gave a flower of this type to my lovely wife once when we were young, so I can assure you that this is very meaningful and compelling evidence indeed. The soundness of my judgment in this matter is backed by nothing less than pure love. but, Your Honor, let it go, Mr. Edgeworth. It's clear you don't know much about flowers. It's not like you, have any... Wow, Phoenix, rude. Maybe you should study up on them just in case the opportunity presents itself. It's from the man who only knows the names of 3 types of flowers. That's hardly relevant to the case at hand. The defense asserts that it's highly probable the victim was killed in the hold. The body was then placed in the lantern and then moved to the reception hall for some reason. It would have completely destroyed the prosecution's case. And you mean the body was... Yes, the victim's body was inside the lantern during the entire beautiful wedding reception. The problem with this is that something doesn't add up about which lanterns were used, while the defendant and her betrothed were celebrating their love. What?
Objection!
Your smooth talk might work on his honor, but it won't work on me. What are you talking about now? Take another look at all of the evidence and you'll soon see what I mean. I wish you would just tell me already. Detective Sky, I'm sure you've already figured out what I'm talking about, correct? Of course, sir. Mr. Wright is the only one here who hasn't. Why don't you leave this to me, Mr. Edgeworth? Very well, let's see what you can do. Detective Sky, please give your testimony to this court. I don't think the judge knows. The victim could not have been killed before the reception. The autopsy report states that the estimated time of death was after the reception. And that estimated time of death is correct. There's no way it could be wrong. It's clear Mr. Gloomsbury was killed after the reception. That completely contradicts your claim. I guess so. Tell me you took at least a cursory glance at the autopsy report, Mr. Wright. Appears you've grown rusty since our last outing. Might I suggest you go back and brush up on the basics? Sure, though I must say, you're as cocky as ever, Mr. Edgeworth. I beg your pardon? What are you trying to say, Mr. Wright? I'm just saying that I'll go back to basics if that's what Mr. Edgeworth wants. I'll prove how badly he's underestimating me with a good old-fashioned cross-examination. Very well, let's see you put your money where your mouth is, Mr. Wright.
Hold it!
You sound pretty certain. You must have some solid grounds for making that claim, right? Of course I do. And you're going to feel silly when I show you what they are. Feast your eyes on this.
Hold it!
I've read the autopsy report too, you know. And you don't need me to explain it to you, right? How there's no way the victim could have been killed before the reception, I mean. Detective Sky, I think you've overlooked something big. I have? Why don't you take another look at the evidence? But I've already looked at all the evidence, and quite carefully too, I'll have you know. Detective Sky, do not be taken in by his verbal antics. He is simply bluffing, as always. Right, sir.
Hold it!
Is it possible that the culprit did something to obscure the real time of death? No, not in this case. There was no snow or anything to keep the body from decomposing. And there's no fridge on that airship big enough to fit a body into. So you've already checked into that, I see. Well, it comes down to the estimated time of death, doesn't it? Couldn't the killer mess with the victim's time of death by keeping the body on ice? Yeah, if they had the means to. Prosecution is treating the estimated time of death as an absolute, but is it really? Take it you don't think it is, huh, Nick? In that case, we're going to have to find a way to convince them otherwise. Yeah, there's gotta be a way somehow. I'm gonna guess it's the fog machine.
Objection!
No? Would you care to tell this court what percent you sure you are of your claim? Well, of course. I'm 100, well, or 90, wait, maybe 80-ish? Would you accept 50%? Mr. Wright, I won't have such half-hearted bluffing in my courtroom. Your Honor. Might I recommend the defense be penalized with 100% severity? Oh, I intend to, Mr. Edgeworth. You can be sure of that. Guess I can't say I deserve 0% of that. Okay, so it's not the dry ice. What else could it have been? I guess we're gonna have to address it like this.
Objection!
I thought maybe by using the... I thought maybe we were gonna be like, oh yeah, but see, here is it still unopened while the reception is happening. But I guess that wasn't it. Feeling defense. Yes, Your Honor, or rather, a hope that it indicates a contradiction. Mr. Wright, is there or isn't there a contradiction here? It looks like there is, but there really isn't one, is there? You're asking me, Mr. Wright, because what it really seems like to me is you're asking for a penalty. Thanks for that definitive answer, Your Honor. With a lawyer like you, Mr. Wright, even I feel bad for the defendant. You don't have to feel bad for her for long. I'll get it right next time, you'll see.
Hold it!
I missing here? So it's not these two. It's not this. And it's definitely not this. Something about one of these? Wouldn't be this. It could maybe be this, but this is her statement. I don't know if you can refute it with just that. This doesn't really tell us anything. Could be something in this. I'm not sure. Maybe this one because it shows the wrong bull as a lantern?
Objection!
No, that's not it. Glaring contradiction. Will it start saying something anytime soon, Mr. Wright? It's not speaking up at all, is it? Maybe it's being shy. Your evidence has said nothing at all to this court, but your choice of tactics speaks volumes about you, defense. Even I knew that wasn't a very smart move, Nick. Maybe because of the pedals inside it?
Objection!
No. I'm missing something here, but... none of my ideas seem to pan out. I guess I should make sure that it's this statement. And not just, I had the right idea, but it wanted me to do the third statement instead of the second one, even though they're pretty similar. What do you think we should do now, Maya? That one statement sounds awfully fishy to me, Nick. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It's just a matter of deciding which piece of evidence to present, right? Yeah, I'll take another look at the evidence and compare it to that statement then. Huh. There's no way it could be wrong.
Hold it!
Means to. Okay, so maybe it was the fog machine, it was just on the third statement instead of the second one.
Objection!
Okay, so I had the right idea, it was just on the wrong statement. But this means the chime of death does contradict my theory. Finally, and that means your theory that the victim was killed before the reception is still entirely plausible. Huh? Well, what makes you think that? The killer could have falsified the time of death by using a certain item in the reception hall. Please take a look at this. And what is that contraption, Mr. Wright? It's a fog machine, Your Honor, used to create a special romantic atmosphere in the hall. And this machine could have been used to falsify the time of death? Yes, Your Honor, because this machine uses dry ice to perform its magic. Dry ice? Ah, yes, the super cold stuff commonly used to make theatrical fog, right? I see. So your claim is that this dry ice was used to keep the body cold. Oh, in that case, I guess the victim could have been killed before the reception. Order. Order in this court. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, what do you have to say about this development? That the victim was killed in the hold before the wedding reception? The prosecution acknowledges the possibility of this claim. Now we're getting somewhere. The prosecution would also like to thank you, Mr. Wright. Huh? For what? I didn't know how a certain piece of evidence fit into this case, but now, thanks to you, I do. piece of evidence. To get into the hold, one needs a key card, like this one. And here we have a record of those who entered the hold with such key cards. The times aren't specified, but these are the last 3 entries on the day of the murder. Well, I notice there's one in between the 2 suspected. This person entered on the hold that day was the defendant. So the one who moved the body out of the hold must have been... You know there was one in between those 2, right? You did read that, Edgeworth. Also sneaky of you to hold on to that before I could see it. Take a look at this entry. Also, didn't she lose her card? Like, it was found at the mansion, not on her. And a couple of other names on here besides Ellen's. Hey, you're right. According to the entry record, Mr. Edgeworth, Pierce Nickety had also gone into the hold. Isn't it possible that he could have been the culprit?
Objection!
Sorry, but Mr. Nickety was escorting a few of the guests at the time. I'm sure they would be happy to testify to that fact if you'd like. Think me cocky all you'd like, Mr. Wright, but my confidence is rarely misplaced. Now then, it's probably safe to assume that after killing the victim... Well, now hold on a minute. It would still be good to get their testimonies, because then they could testify, because it shows when they entered, it doesn't show when they left. So they could testify as to whether or not he was still present in the hold when they were there. If he was escorting guests at the time. Because if he was escorting guests, then they also had to have been there with him. So if they knew whether or not he was in the... If they were like, oh yeah, we didn't see him at the time, then obviously there'd be an issue. It's safe to assume. You're making a lot of assumptions here, Edgeworth. The defendant moved his body to the hall in order to dispose of it discreetly. What do you mean by discreetly? The defendant volunteered to take care of the reception's cleanup personally. That means she would have had the chance to dispose of anything in any way she wanted, including taking the lantern off the airship without raising any suspicion. Don't tell me you didn't know about Miss Wyatt volunteering for cleanup duty, Mr. Wright. Look at you, sweating buckets like a rookie, even after all these years. Nevertheless, thank you for proving that the only person who could have killed the victim in the hold is... Ellen Wyatt. Great job, Phoenix. Now we're back to square one. Perhaps you should ask Miss Sykes for some help in reviewing Defense for Dummies. Way to go, sir. You've got Mr. Wright in a cold sweat. I wonder if maybe the promise of seeing that miserable look on his face is what brought me back to court today. It certainly made all of my stress and woes as chief prosecutor just melt away. I guess he had a lot of stress built up. Give him something to stress over before we're through today. Your Honor, the prosecution asks that you render your verdict at this time. Before that man over there tries to throw the court into chaos with his meaningless bluffs. I see, Mr. Wright. Are there any last meaningful bluffs you'd like to present to this court? Why does he have to assume it'll be a bluff? Nick, hurry up and throw a good one out there. I will. Well, alright then. Let's see. I've got it. How do you know it was Miss Wyatt who used her key card? After all, if it turns out that somebody else used her card, it would mean Miss Wyatt didn't do it. Interesting. Are you able to prove this bluff to be true? I assure you I'm not bluffing, Your Honor. Well, now what? Wait a minute, Nick. I can think of a certain somebody who might have used Ellen's key card. You can? Remember? The one who was sneaking around the hold in spite of not being a family member. Oh, that's right. Your Honor, the defense would like to call a certain witness to the stand. Something smells.
Take that!
That's your witness? Are you saying that that numbskull was on the airship? He never breathed a word about that to me. That's not surprising, because Mr. Nickety told him to keep quiet about it. But Mr. Butts himself admitted it to me. He claimed to have found a way to sneak into the Flying Chapel's hold to see Mrs. Wyatt. This photo he took and gave to me as proof. Then was it he who moved the lantern with the body inside to the reception hall? You know as well as I that with him anything is possible, and this is one possibility we should definitely look into. I can't believe this. What in the world is he doing mixed up in this? Come on, Mr. Edgeworth. Remember what we've been saying since elementary school. When something smells, it's usually the butts. Exactly. That Larry will pay for this. Well, if you want to extract your payment now, he's right up there in the gallery. Yikes! Bailiff, seize the witness before he makes a run for it. No, why does this stuff always happen to me? Sorry, Larry, but you brought this on yourself. Let us break for a 15-minute recess. Ask that both sides prepare for the next witness's testimony during this time. Wow, it's been a while since I've had this much fun and excitement. Face off against Mr. Edgeworth, a harrowing tightrope walk for the defense. Phew, I'm exhausted already. Boss. I'm here for moral support. Athena, are you all done practicing for Trucy's magic show? Well, to be perfectly honest, I sort of ran away. But that's because she was putting my life in danger, I tell you. I see. I think I'll need to have a one-on-one with her. You're really athletic and fit, Athena, so Trucy probably thinks she can run you ragged. That may be true, which is why not even Trucy can keep up with me when I run at full speed. Ha! Looks like you spoke too soon, Athena. Never underestimate the resourcefulness of a great magician. Huh? Magical girl Trucy Wright is on the sea. No! Now, Athena, it's time to practice human combustion magic. Oh god. Douse yourself in this gasoline. But don't worry, it's a magic trick after all, so it's perfectly safe. Run away! Hey you're not getting off that easily. They get along so well, don't they? Reminds me of the good old days. You, me, and Pearlie. Oh, and Detective Gumshoe. Can't forget him. We had all kinds of fun at the crime scenes back then, remember? Even me to do all the serious investigating, as I recall. Court will soon be back in session, Mr. Wright. Right, thank you. So Larry's the next witness, right? Can't wait to see what happens. Sadly, I can already imagine it. Court will now reconvene. Nick, Edgy, two of you are going to hang me out to dry, aren't you? No, not the both of us. Just Mr. Wright. Nick, how could you? I don't really think you did it, of course, but I've got to use whatever leads I can. Mr. Butts, there's a possibility you moved the lantern that had the dead body in it. So if you want to clear yourself of any suspicion, all you have to do is testify. Now then, your testimony, please, witness. Nick is a jerk face. Big fat stinking jerk. How can you doubt your best bud? We've known each other since elementary school. Well, get this, pal. Our friendship's over. That's not a testimony, Larry. Well, go ahead, Mr. Wright. He's all yours. Why me? You're the one who called him to the stand, so he's your responsibility. Thanks, old chum. Can any of you show me a little respect, even just a shred? Let me cross-examine the witness, Mr. Wright. I would if there were any testimony to cross-examine. Well, I guess we'll just have to start pressing.
Hold it!
Come on, Larry. Can't you please give me something real to work with? Don't think I don't know about your tricks. If I say something careless, you're gonna shove some evidence at me with a loud objection and a super smug look on your face. Yeah, well, that is my job. If I get found guilty, how are you gonna take responsibility for what you've done? Why should I take responsibility for just doing my job? You heartless jerk, don't you have any compassion for me?
Hold it!
I'm sorry, Mr. Butts, but it wasn't Miss Wyatt that entered the hold with that card. And you're the most likely suspect. Nick, are you seriously doubting the innocence of your old childhood friend? Well, technically, yes. But it isn't personal, I assure you. Oh, a true friend would believe in me no matter what. Can't you see my tears? Don't they mean anything to you? Nick, you don't really think you can cry your way out of this, do you? Okay, fine. In that case... Well, I guess about all I can do is try to get some kind of statement out of him somehow. Good luck.
Hold it!
Larry, listen to me. Shut up. I'm not talking to you anymore. This is getting us nowhere. Come off it, Larry. If you don't quit fooling around and start testifying, Miss Wyatt will be found guilty. For real? If no new information comes out of this cross-examination, then yes, Mr. Butts, for real. Not that I would have a problem with that myself. Larry, just tell us the truth already. Did you or didn't you go into the hold and move a lantern up to the reception hall? I never moved any bull lantern, I tell ya. Bull lantern? What, did I say something weird? You told me that you didn't attend the wedding reception. You believe they told me only family and relatives could attend? Yeah, so what? Then that's odd. No one in this courtroom ever mentioned the sex of the lantern that was moved. So how could you know that it was a bull lantern? You didn't have to actually go to the reception to know that. Anyone could tell that there were... You could tell there were 2 Pega bulls by looking at the Flying Chapel's pamphlet. All I can tell right now is that there's a strong scent of bull in the air in here. Please add that last statement to your testimony, Mr. Butts. Well, this one's super easy.
Objection!
I want you to take a look at this, Mr. Butts. Because unfortunately for you, the pamphlet clearly shows a Pega cow and a Pega bull in their example diagram of the reception hall. Huh? But on that day, instead of putting a Pega cow and Pega bull out for the bride and groom, there were 2 male Pega bulls on display. Yet somehow you knew there were 2 Pega bulls in the reception hall that day. There's only one way you'd know something like that, Larry. It was you who moved the Pega bull to the reception hall, wasn't it? Larry, you didn't. Mr. Butts, did you move the lantern containing the victim's body to the reception hall? That's what it looks like. Well, Larry did it. Wait, Nick, you don't think I'm the murderer, do you? Maybe you and Mr. Gloomsbury were fighting over Miss Wyatt and you ended up killing him? Maya, not you too. Look, I did sneak into the reception, but that's as far as it went. You know me, I wouldn't hurt a fly. You snuck into the reception? Yeah, sure, but some of the Sprocket men caught and locked me up in one of the cabins. It's pretty awful, actually. That's when I made that drawing of the pterodactyl I showed you, Nick. Ixnay on the pterodactyl, Larry. Mr. Wright, not even you would take this farce that far, would you? We are talking about Larry. What do I do? Accuse Larry of being the true culprit? No, he didn't kill him. You're right, Mr. Edgeworth. Mr. Butts didn't have a reason to kill Mr. Gloomsbury. He might have had an imaginary reason to kill Soren Sprocket, sure, but not Mr. Gloomsbury. After all, he did steal Mr. Sprocket's bride and try to elope with her. Just because I tried to steal somebody's bride doesn't make me a murderer. I believe you, Larry, and I don't think he killed anybody either. He would never do anything like that. Nick, old buddy, old pal, I knew you'd come through for me. Funny that, considering your sworn testimony just now that we were through. Mr. Butts, it's time you told this court the truth, understood? Just like Nick said, I'm the one who moved the lantern. I was poking around the reception hall before the main event and saw a lantern was broken. Well, there you go. There was a note on it that said, exchange with the one in the hold, Ellen. So I decided to do Ellie a favor. So you switched the lanterns before the reception, did you? That means the victim really was killed before the reception. It would appear that Mr. Butts completely fell for the defendant's scheme. Scheme? What scheme? This note from the defendant, exchanged with the one in the hold, Ellen. Mr. Butts moved the lantern with the body in it up to the reception hall because of this note, and thus he has become a suspect in Mr. Gloomsbury's murder. That second lantern did feel pretty heavy, but I never would have thought there was a dead body in it. What was a note like that doing on a lantern in the first place? You've got it all wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. I left that note for myself. It was simply a reminder because I can be very forgetful.
Objection!
A sorry excuse, Ms. Wyatt. The prosecution contends that this note shows one facet of the defendant's murderous plan. And you, Mr. Butts, you played right into Miss Wyatt's hands. No way, Edgy. I don't believe it.
Objection!
You still really believe Miss Wyatt to be the culprit, Mr. Edgeworth? Of course. My stance on the matter remains unchanged. If you think I'm wrong, then prove it with your cross-examination. Gladly. Very well. Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. I'm going to move the lantern. Just going around the reception hall before the main event and saw a lantern was broken. There was a note on it that said exchanged with the one with old Ellen. So I decided to do Ellie a favor. And Larry, he definitely did something stupid somewhere along the way. Wow, Larry sure is one special guy. Not everyone has the privilege of being this distrusted by their best friends. Assuming he can't be trusted from the get-go usually makes things easier, I've learned. Oh, I see. You totally trust him to be totally untrustworthy. Yeah, I guess that just about sums it up.
Hold it!
Why didn't you tell us that sooner? 'Cause I knew you guys were going to be suspicious of me, that's why. I'm suspicious of you now because you tried to hide it. My thoughts exactly. Well, now I've told you. Happy? So how about letting me go? No, not yet. I need you to stick around to sort a few things out. Fine.
Hold it!
The lantern you swapped out was a female Pegamoo, a Pega cow, right? Yeah, I guess. Why did you replace a female lantern with a male one? Because I was too busy trying not to get caught. I didn't have time to check for little details like that. If you didn't want to get caught, you could have just left well enough alone, you know. Whatever. Anyway, when I took a look at the broken lantern, I saw...
Hold it!
That note wasn't addressed to you, was it? Well, I guess not, but how could I let my dear sweet Ellie do all that hard physical labor on her own? It's precisely that thought process that constantly gets you in trouble, Larry. Besides, it was my big chance to show her how much I cared about her.
Hold it!
Nobody saw you the whole time while you were switching the lanterns? Nope, I didn't get caught. Not that time, anyway. Not that time. Yeah, when I tried to sneak into the reception hall the first time. I didn't have as much luck. The Sprocket guy spotted me and nabbed me. My words are failing me right now. Pretty exciting, don't you think? Larry, you need help. And they locked me up in one of the cabins. Nick, what are you asking about stuff like this for anyway? Shouldn't you be trying to prove Ellie's innocence? Well, is that statement as important in the case? Mr. Butt's trying to crash the reception and subsequently getting locked up in a cabin. I believe these might be important facts in the case, Your Honor. Very well, Mr. Butts, please add that statement to your testimony.
Hold it!
So you got locked up, then what happened? I broke out. Then I started looking for Ellie and wandered into the reception hall again. That's when I saw the broken lantern and replaced it. Even after they caught you and locked you up, you still went looking for Miss Wyatt? But hold on a minute. What is it, Nick? Maya, doesn't something seem weird to you? Larry's saying he replaced the lantern after he broke out of the cabin. That's right. Oh, wait. Huh? You're right. It doesn't make much sense, does it? Mr. Wright, have you found an inconsistency in the witness's statement? Yes, I believe so, Your Honor. Mr. Butts moved the lantern after he broke out of the cabin, but that contradicts with this. His drawing of the pterodactyl flying outside the window. Actually, it might be that. I kind of want to present it anyway. I mean, it's either gotta be this, or maybe it really is the drawing. Screw it, let's try the drawing.
Take that!
In what sense does that piece of evidence contradict with the statement? It doesn't contradict it at all, does it? Indeed. Oh, don't mind me, Your Honor. It looks like I just made a tiny mistake, that's all. Huh.
Hold it!
Didn't get penalized for that one. I would say the next idea would be...
Take that!
Okay, so it's not those.
Hold it!
Place the lantern after you broke out of the cabin. So you replaced the cow lantern after you broke out of the cabin.
Take that!
That? Yes, it's the broken lantern, Your Honor. Mr. Butts, what you're saying doesn't make any sense at all. What? Why not? You swapped the lanterns before the reception began, right? Yeah, that's what I said, isn't it? But you also just said that you swapped the lanterns after you got locked up in a cabin for trying to sneak into the reception. In other words, you're saying you swapped the lanterns both before the reception and after the reception took place. That certainly doesn't make any sense, does it? Mr. Butts, did you swap the lanterns before or after the reception? Which was it, before or after? There's a world of difference between the two. Well, Mr. Butts, I guess I can't expect guys like you to understand. In a nutshell, it was both before and after the reception. What? I tried to sneak into the first reception. And there it is. The first reception, and got locked up. I don't like where this is going. Then, through the power of Ellie's pendant, time got rewound and we went back to the time before the reception. It was after that when I replaced the lantern. So it was both before the reception and after the reception. Get it? We went back in time before the reception, so of course the reception would take place one more time after that, right? That's why what I said makes perfect sense. Mr. Wright, what in the world is the witness talking about? Has he developed some sort of intellectual ailment I'm not aware of since I saw him last? Well, none of the Sprockets seem to remember the time skip, but I do. And Ellie remembers it too. I think the power of our love for each other made that miracle happen. Mr. Wright, I'm sorry, but could you please translate this man's gibberish so the rest of us can understand? Now I have to be the one to explain about the whole time travel thing. Go on, Nick. I know you can do it. Looks like you don't have much choice, Nick. To heck with it. I can't lose any more of my dignity today anyway. The defendant, Miss Ellen Wyatt, has told the defense the following strange story. She said that after the reception ended, she was attacked by Mr. Gloomsbury. She claims that as she was being assaulted, she made a wish upon her pendant, "Please take me back to that blissful moment." In doing so, time apparently rewound itself to just before the reception began. It what? I know it's hard to believe, but think about it this way. Through the power of the pendant, both Ellen Wyatt and Larry Butts experienced time travel. What? I mean, if it was one person, we could write it off.
Objection!
What absolute rubbish! Mr. Wright, I've heard my fair share of your nonsense over the years. This takes the cake. Have you thoroughly lost your mind?
Objection!
But this is simply the conclusion I came to, using that logic ability you love so much. What? The truth of the matter is, the future president of Sprocket Aviation, Soren Sprocket, has been researching time machines. So, what if a time machine has already been successfully created? And what if that's one of the Sprocket Aviation's top secret inventions? A time machine? Yeah, I even saw something while we were time traveling. I saw a pterodactyl flying through the sky. Oh, credibility. Larry, you don't have any. Maybe the airship was set to travel through time for their honeymoon trip. A pterodactyl?
Objection!
You can't possibly have any evidence to back up your ridiculous time travel story. Well, as I thought. In any case, I now have the evidence to prove that you're no more intelligent than Larry. Not so fast now, Edgy. I'm not the same old Larry you used to know. Oh? You want evidence? I've got your evidence right here. This is a photo I secretly took of the first reception. What? Oh no, he actually brought receipts. Larry, I can't believe you... Well, anyway, good job. If we compare the photos of the first and second receptions and can find a difference, we'll be able to prove the reception was held twice. Do you really think such a difference exists? Yes, Your Honor. I just need some time to find it for you. This is preposterous. Very well. Please show the court what's different then. Proof that positive the wedding reception was held twice. I think... Yeah, the bouquet's different. Is there anything else that's different? I don't think there's anything else you can see clearly in the photo. It's gotta be the bouquet. Yeah, that's gotta be it.
Take that!
Please direct your attention to Miss Wyatt's bouquet of flowers. In the photo one of her in-laws took, the defendant is holding a yellow bouquet. But in the photo Mr. Butts took, she is holding a red bouquet. You're right. That's impossible. What does this mean? It means that the defendant really did experience 2 wedding receptions. And she did that when she traveled back through time. Okay. As much as I'd like to believe that time travel actually happened here, I'm pretty sure there were just 2 different receptions. Why there were 2, I don't know, but... Nick, you did it! You proved Ellen's time travel story to be true. Yeah, I can hardly believe it myself. It's just as Ellen said, the reception was held twice. This turns every assumption we've based this trial on upside down.
Objection!
I refuse to accept such a ludicrous argument. It's pure fiction under the guise of pseudoscience at best. There's simply no such thing as time travel. I know it's hard, but can't you suspend your disbelief for 1 nanosecond, Edgeworth? I bet sci-fi movies push all your buttons the wrong way, don't they, Mr. Edgeworth? I can totally picture you yelling, "That never happened," every 5 seconds at the screen. Maybe you should stay away from movie dates altogether. It's neither here nor there. This is real life we're talking about. But the proof is clearly shown in the 2 photographs. That's right, Mr. Edgeworth, no matter how it is.
Objection!
Fine, I'll entertain your absurd delusion, if only to demolish it before your very eyes. What? Let's start with this then, shall we? There's one thing your time travel theory fails to explain. And that is the memories of the other guests there. The defendant and Larry remember the reception occurring twice, but no member of the Sprocket family has even mentioned such a thing. That's because the time machine is classified technology. I'm not done, you bird brain. Bird brain? As I was saying, if the entire family had been sworn to secrecy, And why hadn't they sworn the woman who was marrying into the family to secrecy too? That's a good point. Honestly, all it takes is a little common sense, Mr. Wright. Even still, how do we know that the trip through time did not really occur? There's proof in the photos that it did, and besides, if time travel doesn't exist, well, I'd be a little disappointed, frankly. I was hoping to go back to the days of my youth. You mustn't allow yourself to be taken in by Mr. Wright's whimsical tales, Your Honor. I've read about it in various literature, you see. And they all say that time travel is just not logically feasible. The argument was just a little too nonsensical, Nick. Well, in that case, why don't we put common sense to the test? Excuse me? The wedding reception was held twice. The photos are proof of that. But it wasn't because of time travel. It's simply because the reception had actually been held twice. See, that's what I was saying. Like, they just think they were traveling through time, but the reception was just held twice. Isn't that the most reasonable way to interpret the situation? Would you care to elaborate, Mr. Wright? Time travel doesn't exist. There's only one way to make sense of what happened. Somebody must have orchestrated this strange phenomenon, and that somebody is... the gods! I mean, it would have had to have been everyone at the reception, because everyone would have had to have been in on it. What if all of the guests at the reception conspired together to hold the reception twice and keep quiet about it? What? And for what purpose would they conspire to do such a thing? Well, a brilliant deduction, Defense. I can tell that you are not a renowned lawyer for nothing. I must say I underestimated you. How so, Mr. Nickety? You have managed to name each event precisely as they happened. You have revealed it all to the light of day. Then, that means... it was us. We orchestrated the whole thing. Yes, the reception was held twice. But not because of the time travel, no. We simply held it a second time. What? Why? Why would you do such a thing? To make it as though the murder Miss Ellen committed never happened. Master Soren figured that if Miss Ellen, who had killed Bloomsbury after their first reception, experienced the reception one more time, she would think it was all a dream. It was he who ordered us to make it happen. He who ordered us to make it happen. However, only a few, myself included, knew of Miss Ellen's crime. Are you saying most of the guests attended 2 receptions without knowing why? Indeed, they needed no reason. Master Soren told them to do it, and do it they did. That is the Sprocket way. Then who hid the body in the lantern? We did, but we did not anticipate the petals finding their way in, or the actions of Mr. Butts. And that's how you intended to cover the whole situation up. There's just one thing everyone here has wrong. The real scene of the murder was not the hold. It was the Vista deck. What? Then Miss Wyatt's recollection of the events must be correct. I admit we tried to cover this incident up, but the fact that Miss Ellen killed Bloomsbury is undeniable. This is quite a turn of events. And so it appears we've arrived at the truth at last. Now. Please do feel free to travel back in time, Mr. Wright, and attempt to do this trial over again. Go on. Let's not get hasty, Edgeworth. I bet you can't do it. I bet I can't either. Your Honor, we will have to hold a separate trial for the cover-up conspiracy later. As far as this case goes, I believe we are ready for your ruling.
Objection!
Just before the defendant lost consciousness during her attack, she says she saw someone strike the victim. It's possible that this third party is the true culprit.
Objection!
You still want us to believe the defendant's words? Perhaps you've lost more than you've touched during your time abroad. This third-person nonsense is nothing but rubbish, and you know it.
Objection!
But by the same token, how can we trust those who conspired and lied to fool this court of law? For all we know, they might still be hiding something. Nah, never know when to quit, do you? Now, calm down, both of you. In any case, there isn't enough trustworthy information yet for me to render a verdict. I suggest we continue the trial after both sides have investigated the matter further. Very well, Your Honor. Phew, that was close. Mr. Nickety, as for you and your cohort's attempt to cover up this crime, your case will be brought to a separate trial following the resolution of this current one. Understood, Your Honor. Well then, this concludes today's trial. Court is adjourned. Well, we made it through the first day at least. I'll be right back. Just give me a moment. Keep going, but I need to step away for a moment. Okay. What? The whole time traveling thing was just a ruse put on by the guests at the reception? Looks like it. I knew there had to be some kind of trick to it. Wow, 2 wedding receptions. Can you imagine? I wonder how much that must have cost them. I have no idea. But if you have to ask, you're not rich enough to want to know. Still, if you've got the money, it's a pretty good way to cover things up, if you ask me. You got that right. I'm sure I would have been completely fooled. Hi, I'm back. Hey, Maya, you all set to go? Yep, ready when you are. So, what should we start with? Let's start with reviewing what we learned at the trial. What Ellen thought was time travel was really just a performance put on by the Sprockets. But other than that, it seems that what Ellen told us was actually all true. So what really matters right now is the identity of the mystery person Ellen said she saw while she was being attacked. So who is this mystery person? That's the million-dollar question, I'm afraid. But if we want to clear Ellen of any suspicion, then figuring out who they are is key. I think I'll take toilets for 200 instead, Mr. Wright. Well, at least there were only so many people in that airship that night. And we know who the mastermind of the whole cover-up plot was, too, so that's good. You mean the groom, Soren Sprocket, right? Exactly. He might know something that could help us out. So then, what am I doing? Excuse me. Very busy man, you know. Well, all of the other people involved are Soren's family members, so I thought I'd better start by interviewing you. Even if I probably shouldn't trust a word out of your mouth. Oh man, I have a really tight schedule, but aw heck, what are friends for, right? Okay, pal, go ahead, ask me anything. You do remember it was you who came to me for help in the first place, right? I want to go over exactly what happened when before I step outside this office again. Since you were there, Larry, do you think you could help me get it all straight in my head? If I gotta. Okay, so the first reception was held at 7 p.m. on the day of the incident. I like how he just casually is like, okay, yeah, I definitely know what time it was. That's the one you tried to crash, right? Huh? Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, that explains why he was in. I was like, why would they just let him in the second time? Because they were in on it and, like, pretending to let him in, because otherwise it would have been really weird. Then they locked me up in a cabin. It was awful, I tell you. Too bad we're not here to focus on you, Larry. And then the incident occurred after this first reception at around 10 p.m. Ellen was attacked in the reception hall by Gloomsbury, who was doing some kind of vibe check, apparently. He forced her out onto the Vista deck and was just about to kill her. But Ellie fought back and ended up killing old Gloomsbury instead. To cover it up, the family quickly threw together a second reception. That's what Edgy is claiming anyway. But I know my Ellie didn't do it. The key point here is the mystery person Ellen said she saw strike Gloomsbury, just before she passed out. Did you see anybody suspicious skulking around that day? Nope, not a soul, as I was locked up in a cabin at the time. She managed to escape and sneak back into the reception hall. That's when you switched the lantern in the event hall with the lantern in the hold, right? Did you see anybody then? Nope, the place was completely deserted. I guess because that Pierce Butler guy had everybody gathered together somewhere. That makes sense, he must have been going over the cover-up plan with them. So clearly the murder had already happened by the time Larry got out. They must have gotten everything ready fast and had the second reception soon after that. Then after that second reception, Ellie went to clean up the reception hall. And as luck would have it, that's when she found the body and the lantern I brought up. I tried to do something nice for Ellie out of the goodness of my heart, and this happened. Still don't know exactly what happened during the actual murder itself. We'll just have to look into it along with the identity of that mystery person. So while the murder was taking place, you were locked up in a cabin. Did you see anything unusual while you were in there? You know, like any flying dinosaurs. Not dinosaurs. Well, there was that pterodactyl flying through the sky. That's pretty unusual. Alright. That you saw. What's with all the air quotes? I really did see it. I swear. But Larry, the time travel thing never actually happened. Which means you couldn't have seen a real pterodactyl flying through the sky. Oh. Are you doubting the eye of a super popular picture book author? No, I'm just sure you saw something else and mistook that for a flying reptile. Nick, you're making me doubt my own eyes. Now I'm not even sure what I saw. What would he have mistook for a pterodactyl? Either way, you have no idea what actually happened at the real scene of the murder. That's right, and I can say that with every confidence. Oh wow, would you look at the time? I better go. I have a book signing to get to. A book signing? Whose book? Whose do you think? It's mine, of course. It's a Laurie Stonium book signing. I bet you went around and begged a bunch of bookstores to let you do one. Of course not. They're the ones coming around to beg me. Looks like I guessed right. Anyway, I have to go. When he snapped, did he blow a bubble out of his pipe? I'll send you 10 copies of my new book that just got released the other day, alright? 10? That's very generous of you. What are you talking about? I'm going to send you the bill, too, of course. Just put him down as office expenses or something. Well, see ya. We don't need... Oh, he's gone. I'll take a copy, boss. Oh, and make sure it's signed. Oh boy, Trucy's not going to like this office expense. There goes our first lead. What do you want to tackle next, Nick? Right, we should really hit the streets now, huh? How about we go see Ellen? Sounds good, boss. Bet I can cheer her up. Thought you were going to help Trucy with her magic show again today, Athena. Weren't you supposed to go meet her right about now? Trucy said she was going to practice her new trick on you, if I recall. On me? Really? Trucy's show is an important source of income for our agency, you know. You can leave the case to us. You go ahead and run along now. But, boss... Off you go, Athena. No, I don't want to die. We better get going too, Maya. Okay. Why the long face, Maya? I can't believe time travel isn't real after all. I see. I thought I'd get to go back in time and see real dinosaurs and ninjas and stuff. Yeah, too bad, huh? I'd be more relieved, personally. So, what should we do? Oh, I don't know. I mean, shouldn't we just keep investigating stuff or something? Just really lost that spark. Ever since I proved that time traveling wasn't real in court today. Okay, so I think this is still the same one as always, yeah. Alright. Oh, my poor sweet Soren. I wonder how he's getting along without me. Hello, Ellen. Mr. Wright, what's going to happen with the trial, do you think? Well, first and foremost, we have to hurry up and find this mystery person you saw just before you passed out. Do you think that person could be the real killer? It's quite possible. If we can prove that, we can clear you of all charges. Actually, would you happen to know where Soren is right now? He's usually busy with meetings all afternoon, but he should be home by evening. I think I better go have a chat with him later then. Why am I being treated to a view of someone's underwear? Mr. Wright, don't tell me you suspect my sweet Soren. Well, he is the one who masterminded the second reception after the time skip, so I thought he might be able to tell us something. How could you, Mr. Wright? I can't possibly think my Soren would never kill anyone. Alright, calm down. No, not if you're accusing my Soren. Please, I'm not accusing anybody, so please just put the pan and ladle down, alright? Really? Cross my heart. So for now, would you mind if I ask you a few more things about the case? I'd better be careful not to provoke her. To tell me about Soren. There's nothing to tell. He's squeaky clean. Alright, okay. Maybe I should avoid the topic of Soren right now. Let's talk about something else then. Fine, but you won't hear a peep out of me about Soren. Talk about pulling teeth. Did you tell me about Pierce Nickety then? Pierce, he came to Sprocket Manor about a year ago. As the family butler, he's now in charge of everything in the household. Only a year ago, did you have some kind of special connection with the family? I'm just a maid, so I'm not privy to such things, I'm afraid. It might have been Soren's order, but Pierce is the one who coordinated the whole thing. He's the one who really orchestrated the grand time travel farce. He must have quite a bit of authority in that family. But no matter how good he is at his job, how could anybody gain that much influence in a single year? I really don't know. I mean, he is an excellent butler. Wouldn't that explain it? Is it really as simple as that? It's never as simple as that. What you thought was time travel is really just a cover-up carried out by your in-laws. Pierce said Soren was the one who ordered the whole thing. I still can't believe it, even if the second reception was fake. Soren would never use time travel for something like that. He's very serious about his time machine research, you know. One moment. heard there's a reason he's researching time machines, actually. Something about something he wishes he could change? Isn't the whole idea of traveling back in time itself a little fantastic? I don't think so. After all, Soren said real-time travelers do exist. Really now? You think he knows someone who actually traveled through time? That's right. Haven't seen it personally, but Soren said as much. So I believe it. Somebody who actually traveled through time, huh? It's pretty hard to believe. Thank you, Ellen. You're going to do your investigation now, aren't you? Yes, that's right. Please make sure you don't cause Soren any trouble, okay? I'm afraid I can't promise you that. What? Please, whatever you do, please don't upset my poor Soren any further. I'm begging you. I'll do my best not to cause him any unnecessary trouble. I couldn't bear it if Soren ever came under suspicion. I'd rather be found guilty myself. Yikes. Ellen, please, don't work yourself up like this. You don't want Soren to worry, do you? No, you're right. And the floodwaters recede once more. So what do we do now, Nick? Well, Ellen said Soren is usually in meetings until the evening, so let's save our house call until then. Why don't we go to the mooring dock and figure out our next move from there? Roger, Nick. One moment. where should we start? Let's see. Any places we haven't examined yet? We already investigated the reception hall at Sprocket Manor. I know. We haven't looked at the visitor deck or the hold yet. Hey, you're right. We've still got some pretty important places left to examine, don't we? The Vista deck is the actual scene of the murder, right? And the lantern with the body in it was stored in the hold. There's a good chance we'll find some important clues in those locations. Do we know how to get to the hold? Good question. I think it was labeled in that diagram of the airship in this pamphlet. There it is. There's a second elevator. Interesting. So this is the hold. This is where Pierce orchestrated the whole cover-up operation. You better go over this place with a fine-tooth comb. Hey, Nick. Are we supposed to need a keycard to get in here? Huh, you're right. Wonder why it was unlocked. How's it going, Mr. Wright? Emma, what are you doing here? Just a little independent investigating for my own sake. Gotta keep the mind sharp. Yes, the door security system was turned off for the police investigation. We'd like to investigate the hold ourselves. Would that be alright? Yeah, sure. Police just finished their examination anyway. Thanks. We'll just take a quick look around then. Oh, right. You should know that the floor doubles as a huge lift. You can use that lever way back there to raise it up to the Vista deck. The police inspected it already, but didn't find anything of particular interest, it seems. If you do go up to the Vista deck with the lift, be careful not to fall off. Got it, thanks. It goes double for you, Maya. Yes, ma'am. Well, let's get this show on the road. So there are two male Pega-Bowl lanterns in the reception hall. That must mean that these two are female Pega-Cow lanterns. There you got their sexes mixed up when you replaced the one in the reception hall, huh? Didn't he see the horns? The difference is pretty glaring, if you ask me. And yet he managed not to notice. That's what makes Larry Larry. And Larry being Larry is why I've seen more than my fair share of trouble for a lifetime. Oh, Mr. Wright. You know that lantern the victim was found inside of in the reception hall? I'm just about to go piece it back together so the police can examine it. Oh, okay. We'll stop by for a look, too, once you're done fixing it. I guess I'll talk to her before she runs off. Any progress with your investigation? Nothing conclusive yet, I'm afraid. Almost everybody was involved with the cover-up, so it's hard to know who or what to believe. I know what you mean. Unless you have some compelling evidence, I'm afraid it's going to be a tough trial for you. You're telling me. There isn't much time left, so I've just got to make do and see what I can turn up. Okay. What is this? A wedding bell? According to the pamphlet, it's used on the Vista deck during wedding ceremonies to bless the newlyweds. Guess they disassemble and store it away here in the hold when it's not being used. Ooh, it's a cake, Nick. A cake. It's so big they wouldn't miss one little piece, would they? If you're that in the mood for a mouthful of styrofoam, sure, knock yourself out. You mean it's not real? Well, it sure fooled me. I'm so ready to have some that I'm really craving cake now. Come on, Nick, let's go get some. Maybe after the trial is over. Ooh, look, Nick, it's an airplane. Soren built that one, too. Hey, why don't we take it for a spin? Just a quick tour around the neighborhood. And who do you propose is going to pilot that wooden death trap? Me, of course. Who else? Don't worry, I've seen people fly airplanes on TV plenty of times. I think I'll pass. Still got my whole life ahead of me. look. There's the lever to the lift Emma told us about. Let's try going up on it. I'll go flip the switch. Here goes nothing. Wait, I'm not even on it yet. Ooh. Hey, Maya, stop the lift. Whoops, sorry. I got a little carried away. Never mind that. Move over a little. Okay. Is that blood? Blood? Let me see. Could it be Mr. Gloomsbury's blood? Well, this lift goes up to the Vista deck where the murder took place, so I think that's the most logical conclusion. But I thought the victim was clubbed to death and that there wasn't much blood. Something tells me I better take a picture of this. Should ask him about it some more later. Maya, can you bring the lift back down now? You got it. I'll go flip the switch again. Done. I'm going to find out some more about that bloodstain. But for now, I guess we should go up to the Vista deck and take a look around the actual crime scene for ourselves. The view must be great from up there. I bet it'll be awesome. You mean it would be if it wasn't the scene of a murder? Okay, to the Vista deck we go. Make sure you actually get on the lift this time, Nick. I know, I know. Okay, I'll just flip the switch again, and away we go. Wow, look at the gorgeous view. This is where Ellen was attacked and Mr. Gloomsbury was killed. Yeesh, one wrong step and it's kersplat in the ground below. Should we go investigate the stuff that's a little closer to the edge? Well, I don't see much of anything over there. Police investigation didn't turn up any clues either, so maybe we don't need to? Oh, I get it. You're scared, aren't you, Nick? Of course not. Come on, let's go back down and finish checking out the hole. These are the flowers we saw in Larry's photo. Petals make them look like little gears. Perfect flower for the Sprocket family, huh? Maybe they were going to shower the couple with the petals? You mean kind of like how people throw rice or confetti? Yeah, like that. Only these were found at the scene of the murder instead. These must be the dishes and glasses they use for receptions. Very fancy. Bet we'd be in big trouble if we broke any of them. Ooh, I want to see Nick. You, young lady, need to stay far, far away from them. Nick, I think I'm going to break them, don't you? Let's just say your rap sheet for breaking things doesn't help your case. This is the airship's engine. It's pretty impressive. And it's all rhythmic, like a heartbeat. It's the literal heart of the Flying Chapel. With all those huge gears spinning around and around and around and around and... Oh, I think I'm starting to get dizzy. Yeah, me too. Anything else? Huh? Looks like there's some fingerprints on this candelabra. Yeah, just got done dusting that. I was able to pull a set of left-hand prints. Do you know whose prints they are? Yes. The prints belong to the victim, Dumas Gloomsbury. Nick, I just figured out something amazing. You did? Get this. If the fingerprints on the candelabra were from his left hand, then Mr. Doom and Gloom must have been left-handed. What do you think of that? Do I have the makings of a great detective, or what? You're a real silly Sally if you thought that deduction was in any way encyclopedic. Hey, pretty good, Maya. I looked into it myself, and sure enough, the victim really was left-handed. Really? I got it right? Awesome. Good for you, Maya. Good for you? That's all you've got to say? I think you did a real great job, Maya. Way to go. I guess one can never have too much info. Now you're talking. But come to think of it, this candelabra isn't in the photo Larry took of the hold, is it? The picture was taken when they were getting ready for the first reception, right? The candelabra must have been brought in here sometime after that, then. It's still possible it has something to do with the incident, though. I better add it to the evidence file, just in case. I mean, it's got his fingerprints on it, and it was after the first one, which would have been pretty close to when he died, and it's got to be relevant. Oh, by the way, Mr. Wright, you can have this fingerprint powder if you like. Giving this to us? Sure. I have 4 other sets. Thanks. I feel like there's something more to the candelabra, but I can't put my finger on it. Well, we can't examine it, so... Okay, so we didn't find everything. Come on, can we check out this candelabra a little more? A little more? What do you... Oops! What happened? I almost dropped the candelabra and the candle slipped off. Oh, let's be careful with that. It might be important evidence. Wait a minute. Now what? One of the pins that holds the candles is broken. What? Definitely something fishy about this candelabra. There is. What makes you say that? Call it forensic investigator's intuition. You already dusted this for prints earlier, so let's test it with luminol this time. Knowing Emma, she'd use every test she has at the same time if she could. Just hang on, this will only take a second. I hope this turns up a new lead somehow. Well, Emma, did you find anything? Take a look at this, Mr. Wright. What's all that blood doing on there? Maybe somebody got hurt while they were setting up for the reception? These pins are pretty sharp. If one of the pins is broken, it means there was some force involved. You think maybe somebody got stabbed? But nobody reported anything like that. It's quite a bit of blood. Wonder whose it is. If I have anything that might shed some light on that, I should probably show it to Emma. Emma, about this bloodstain, doesn't something about it strike you as odd? What's so odd about the victim's blood? That's not exactly... There's just something about it that bothers me. Now that you mention it, I can't say I necessarily disagree with you. Maybe I should talk about this some more with her. About this bloodstain. What about it? There's something about it that's been bothering me. Oh yeah? What's that? Well, there's a huge bloodstain on the crime scene lift, and a bloodstained candelabra. Now, this is only a guess, but I'm thinking maybe these 2 bloodstains are from... the same source. I guess that is a possibility. Compare the 2 bloodstains? Would that take a lot of time? Are you kidding? Don't underestimate the power of science. It'll be done in a jiffy. And the results are in. That didn't take long now, did it? It seems the blood from the lift and the candelabra are from the same person. Well, the victim was clubbed to death, and there wasn't all that much blood. But if this isn't Mr. Gloomsbury's blood... Well, this is just a guess, but... If Mr. Gloomsbury stabbed somebody with the candelabra pin, that would explain both the huge blood stain on the lift and the blood on the candelabra. My goodness, if that's true, that means there was somebody else present at the scene of the murder. It does, doesn't it? Just might substantiate Ellen's statement about a third person. Emma, could you have this blood analyzed? Sure thing. A mysterious blood stain on the candelabra with the victim's prints on it. This just might be the thing to back up Ellen's memory of seeing a third person. Next up, the reception hall. Might be worth taking another look around in there. Reception hall? Forensics team's in there investigating right now. Oh, they are? Oh, we don't have time to just sit around, so let's go check out something else. Good idea. We could go question some people. Especially Soren. I have quite a few questions for that guy. Sounds good, Nick. Off to do some legwork then? Yep. I thought we'd head to Soren's house for starters. He was accompanying the police on their investigation here earlier, but he's probably home by now. Great, thanks. Later, Emma. Still can't get over how gorgeous Sprocket Manor is. Just don't touch anything. I wasn't going to. She was definitely going to. I was told I had guests. Thank you for seeing us, Soren. We know you're busy. We'd like to ask you a few questions about the case, if you wouldn't mind. Soren? You're Ellen's lawyer, right? Huh? Yes, that's right. Tell me he doesn't remember me. Will Ellen be found guilty? We're doing everything we can to prevent that. That's why we're here investigating. You please tell us what you know. Soren? Alright, fine. What was that pause all about? It was you who gave the order for that large-scale cover-up plan, isn't that right? What large-scale cover-up? Don't play dumb with us. You two held 2 wedding receptions in order to try and cover up Mr. Gloomsbury's murder. Ellen thought that, through the power of the timekeeper you built, she traveled back in time. Ah, so that's why there were 2 receptions. Wait, does he seriously not know why the reception was held twice? Looks like I'll have to delve deeper here. So, the cover-up scheme, that fake trip through time, you're not the one who was behind it all? Pierce Nickety stated in court that you were the one who ordered it to be carried out. Pierce said that? I see. I leave him in charge of everything around me. So whatever he decides is, in essence, my decision too. So I take it that you didn't know anything about the cover-up? That's none of your business. But you were in 2 wedding receptions in a row. And still, you claim to know nothing? I have nothing more to say to you. Please leave. But Soren... Ow. Oh, there's something written on this paper airplane. Let's see. Go away. Doesn't get clearer than that, huh? It's looking especially uncooperative, but maybe I can grab his attention somehow. Still that one piece of evidence I don't know much about. It's worth a try. Soren, have you ever seen this before? That's... Soren, what is it? Nothing. Why does his whole demeanor change all of a sudden? He's gone pale as a ghost, too. Soren! Nick, look at his stomach. He's bleeding. Somebody help. Soren's collapsed. Master Soren, get him to the hospital quickly now. Poor Soren. That must be one serious wound. What is it, Nick? Well, when I showed him the candelabra, his whole demeanor changed. So I was just thinking that maybe his injury is... Huh? What's this? It's Soren's notebook. He must have dropped it in the rush to get him to the hospital. His notebook, huh? Wonder what's written in it, don't you? Come on, you know you want to take a peek. Soren's notebook. What to do? I feel guilty snooping around in somebody's personal notebook, but maybe we should take a little look-see. Whoa, it's filled with big words written in tiny letters. I guess he uses this notebook to write down his invention ideas. Huh? What is it? Did you find something? After March 8th of last year, the content of this notebook changes dramatically. Like how? Well, ever since that date, Soren's been writing down every detail of his life. As in, every. Maybe he decided to start keeping a diary. But this is way too detailed to be an ordinary diary. Either he's really compulsive, or maybe just plain forgetful. Is it really as simple as that? I feel like something happened on March 8th that made Soren change. Oh, why don't you let me take a look at that and I'll tell you. Hey, Maya, let go or we'll rip it. Eep. Now look what you did. You dropped it. You should have just let me take a look. How is this my fault? Oh no, Nick! He fell into that pool of Soren's blood. I can't read a thing on these 2 pages now. Uh-oh, you're gonna get it now. Ugh, I guess it really is my fault after all. Let's just put it away carefully for now. Can't let anything else happen to it, you hear? Huh? Hey look, there's something sticking out of the notebook. Details of the day of the murder have been religion. It's like a newspaper article. Let's see. It's about the car accident Soren's sister died in. Happened on March 8th. It's the day Soren's notebook completely changed. Oh, wow. What else does it say? It says the driver at the time of the accident was Dumas Gloomsbury. It says Soren was in the car too and that he had sustained severe injuries. It's just like Pierce said. Soren completely changed after the accident. So Gloomsbury was driving the car when they got into that accident. That opens up the distinct possibility of Soren holding a grudge against Gloomsbury. You think Soren could have... I don't know. It's not like I have any proof. We should talk to Pierce about this when we return Soren's notebook to him. Though he doesn't seem to be here right now. Maybe he's at the Flying Chapel. Is I need to pick up that key card? It's pretty important, isn't it? No, that's alright. I'm waiting for that new maid over there to notice it. I see. It's part of our training process for new servants, so please don't help her. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on the key card. Alright, the Sprocket household sure runs a tight airship. Hey Nick, better watch out or you'll be cursed by the bouquet of woe. Oh come on Maya, like I'm going to believe an urban legend you just made up. I mean, I was hoping to get more information about the fact that there seemed to be 2 different bouquets, but sure. I don't know if there's anything else. Nick, that airplane. If it doubles as a fan. The ball opens up. Yeah. I don't know why that showed up as something you could... Yeah. I don't have a check mark over it anymore. But the text is the same. Weird. To hear more about my camera, have you? I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm really busy right now. Oh, what a shame. Well, if you ever want to talk about cameras, come back and see me anytime. Sounds like even his own family members don't want to listen to him. Jeez, Phoenix. Don't you dare touch that radio again. Looks like an expensive antique. What are you worried about? If it breaks again, Pierce will just fix it. Okay, that's the same. Sure hope Pierce is around here somewhere. Ah, Mr. Wright and Miss Fay. Hello, Pierce. We were just looking for you. Sorry for Master Soren's sudden departure earlier. You have my sincerest apologies. It's totally understandable, really, but shouldn't you be at his side right now? It's fine. The other servants are with him, and I am in constant contact with them. Do not forget to give him his pain medication, and be sure to keep him hydrated. Also, see to it that he's not up and about. He needs complete bed rest. Is this what happens when you're too rich for normal peasant phones? I must return to Master Soren now, but did you want something of me? Actually, here's Soren's notebook. He dropped it when he collapsed. Hope Pierce doesn't notice the bloodstain. I mean, he was bleeding. Oh, thank you very much for this. I will see to it personally that Master Soren gets it back. Thank you. Trust you do not look inside. Oh, of course not. Because it is filled with numerous patent-worthy ideas, you see. Look, I know you're busy, but would you mind if I asked you a few questions about the case? Well, as I said, I must be getting back to Master Soren. So if you could make it quick, I would greatly appreciate it. Alright, I'll make this as quick as I can. I'd like to ask you about the cover-up you tried to pull off, if you don't mind. I told everything there is to tell in court already. Disposing of anything that may harm the Sprocket family's reputation is simply a part of my job. Sounds like a lovely job description. I have nothing more to say on the matter. I will say, I do not think it's wise to spend time on topics that have already been discussed. Right. Pierce, could you tell us more about this accident? Where did you find that? Did I not already tell you about that accident? You did, but you conveniently left out one crucial detail. The fact that Dumas Gloomsbury was driving the car at the time. Oh, did I not mention that? I suppose it simply did not come up then. Mr. Gloomsbury caused the accident. Why didn't the Sprocket family fire him? Wouldn't that usually be the natural consequence of such a huge mistake? Please do not misunderstand. Gloomsbury stayed on with the family. On Master Soren's request. What? That is the type of person Master Soren is. Perhaps it was the influence of Miss Selena's kind nature. She was such a sweet person that even in her last moments she thought of Master Soren. Why did Soren not hold a grudge against Gloomsbury? He insisted on keeping him on. Now I really don't understand how the guy's mind works. So you were present for Selena Sprocket's last moments. Yes, in my professional capacity. The accident happened on the way to a certain party. What kind of a party was it? It was Miss Selena's engagement party. Bloomsbury's injuries were minor, but Miss Selena's and Master Soren's were critical. They were brought to the Sprocket family's regular hospital. Wow, to have such a terrible thing happen on what was to be a day of celebration. Thanks to the surgeon in charge, Master Soren pulled through. But Miss Selena, she... The last words Miss Selena said to me were, "Please help Soren." Ever since then, I've attended Master Soren and tried to help him in any way I can. I see. Selena's fiancé must have been devastated. Indeed. The shock of losing Miss Selena was so great, he quit being a surgeon. He was a surgeon? Wait, so the surgeon who tried to save them both, was he... Yes, he was Miss Selena's fiancé. What a terrible tragedy. How awful. So where is her fiancé now? Good question. I wonder that sometimes myself. So Selena had a fiancé. I'd like to find out more about him, but I doubt I'll find him anytime soon. So, are we done here? I'm afraid I must be going. Could you please just tell me a little more about Soren? There's nothing more to tell. I can't seem to get any real answers out of him just by asking him questions. There is that piece of evidence I still don't know much about. Maybe he'll be able to tell me something about it. Pierce, have you ever seen this candelabra before? No, I don't know anything about it. Uh-huh. Mayatama reacted. Pierce must be trying to hide something from me. I have to break those psych locks and find out what.
Take that!
Pierce, you're hiding something from me about this candelabra, aren't you? It's one of the candelabras from the Flying Chapel, is it not? There's something special about it. Actually, yes, there's some blood on it, you see. I think the blood might belong to this person.
Take that!
Soren has a rather nasty wound on his body, doesn't he? Yes, Master Soren is indeed injured. Are any of the other people involved with this case injured? Not as far as I know. I see. Then let me ask you this, Pierce. Do you suppose Soren could have been more directly involved than you're letting on? What in the world would make you think that? I've got my reasons. Mr. Gloomsbury's fingerprints were found on this candelabra stem, which leads me to believe that Mr. Gloomsbury stabbed Soren with it. You cannot possibly think Master Soren is the one responsible for the murder. I don't have any conclusive evidence of that at the moment, but I do think he had a motive. This proves that Soren had a motive to cure Mr. Gloomsbury.
Take that!
Even though it was an accident, Mr. Gloomsbury was the man responsible for taking Soren's sister away. Let us suppose that Gloomsbury did stab Mr. Soren with the candelabra. Can you prove that it had anything to do with this case? He might have been stabbed at some other location for some other reason. Sorry, but I can prove it was related to this case. Oh, really? Soren's stabbing and Mr. Gloomsbury's death are definitely connected. Are they now? This is the piece of evidence that ties Soren's injury to Mr. Gloomsbury's murder.
Take that!
A bloodstain was found on the side of the lift that goes between the hold and Vista deck. Its blood matches the blood that's on the candelabra. I obtained the results straight from the police, so I can assure you this information is correct. This bloodstain on the lift indicates an important fact. It shows us that Soren's blood is on the lift, which can only mean one thing. He was there, wasn't he? Soren was at the scene of the crime. You're very astute, Mr. Ray. It appears I cannot hide this from you any longer. Very well, I will tell you everything. Tell me about Soren's injury. Very well. This is what I heard directly from Master Soren himself. As you surmised, Master Soren was stabbed by Gloomsbury on the day of the murder. It happened after the first wedding reception. The happy couple was in the reception hall when suddenly Gloomsbury appeared. He attacked Miss Ellen and tried to take her away. Master Soren went to stop him and found himself in a struggle with Gloomsbury. That is when Master Soren was stabbed with the candelabra, he said. Even though Master Soren was badly injured, he went after Gloomsbury. So Soren really was at the scene of the murder, wasn't he? Yes, that is correct. However, by the time Master Soren arrived at the scene, Gloomsbury had already been murdered. So Pierce is saying that Soren was at the crime scene, but that he didn't have anything to do with the murder itself. Even still, why did you try to keep such an important piece of information from me? I'm very sorry. Master Soren's injury and Gloomsbury's murder were not directly related, so I decided not to mention it so as not necessarily complicate the investigation. Now then, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I really must go now. Please excuse me. Thank you for your time. Pierce should have just told us everything in the first place and saved us all a lot of time. Yeah, but I guess it isn't that simple for him. He is the family butler, after all. He sure didn't make our job any easier, though, did he? But at least we learned something new. Soren was at the scene of the crime. That's true. One step forward is better than none. So, what next, Nick? Let's see. The forensics team might be done investigating the reception hall by now. Let's go check it out. Sounds like a plan. Looks like the police are done with their investigation in here. I wonder if it's okay for us to take a look around now. Oh, hi, Mr. Wright. Hi, Emma. Would it be alright if we investigate in this room now? Sure, police are all done, so go for it. Oh, remember that broken lantern? I restored it to perfection. I have to say, it's some of my best work. Sounds like the repair job was a resounding success. Thanks, Emma. We'll take a good look at it, too. I'll have to be getting back to the station. Try not to mess up the crime scene if you can help it. Well, be careful. I'll be seeing you. Bye, Emma, and thank you. Well, shall we get started? Hey, take a look at that door. Wonder where it goes. Shall we open it up and see? Wait, please don't open that. It's the emergency escape hatch. Reach directly outside, you'll fall to your death. Oh, that was a close one, huh, Maya? I'll say. Still thinks there's something up with this hot air balloon, the way that it's tilted like that. Here's the broken lantern all patched up, and I do mean patched. Emma said this was some of her best work, so I know she put a lot of effort into it. It's pretty smashed up. It must have been a lot of work to piece it back together. Well, she gets an A for effort at any rate. Huh? This wheel handle in the back has some blood on it. Looks like somebody gripped it with a bloody hand. Maybe the blood got on there when the killer was putting old Doom and Gloom's body inside? But there was also blood on his hand, so... There's another one of these lanterns over there, so it might be a good idea to really compare the two later. Yeah, the handles are on the other sides. This is the one that Emma restored. I wouldn't say they look exactly the same, but they're made up of the same parts. Wait a minute. What is it, Maya? I think there's something off about this Pega bowl. Just about everything about it looks off to me. I'm not quite sure what it is, but some detail isn't quite right. Show me the restored lantern again. Hey, I know. It's this, right? The thing about the restored lantern that's off is the... Look, it's the wheel handle. It's a different color altogether. Yeah, but the one on the inside's a different color, yeah. We got the inside and outside wheel handles switched around. Oh wow, you're right. And there's blood here on this handle, as if somebody gripped it with a bloody hand. Right, which means that the blood got on the handle from inside the lantern. Do you think the blood got there when the killer was putting the body in the lantern? It's really hard to say at this point. Excuse me, is the fog machine ready to use now? No, I'm afraid not. We only put dry ice in it when there's an actual reception. I see. That's too bad. She still wants to blast me with a cloud of smoke, doesn't she? Little airplane. Yeah, I think this is the same as before. Nothing behind the screen on this side. Below that huge set of doors. Okay, yeah, that's the same. That tablecloth is new. They must have changed it since yesterday. Huh? How can you tell? The food stains that were there are now gone. You should notice because it's food related. Hello. This is where the murder weapon, the Timekeeper, was displayed. Guess it's in police custody now. Huh? What's this? A key? Let's ask the maid about it. Good idea. She might be able to tell us something. Excuse me, could I ask you a question? Oh, of course. What would you like to know? Do you know anything about this key? It's the key that starts up the Timekeeper. A startup key? That's right. Oh. The first startup of love ceremony was so beautiful. Bride and groom each had a symbol of their love, and when they put them together, well, how romantic it was. First startup of love ceremony? What exactly did that entail? Oh, or it's a ceremony in which the couple activated the Timekeeper together for the first time. I suppose it was kind of like a cake-cutting ceremony. What are these symbols of their love you mentioned? Well, that's kind of an industry secret, so I can't really say. I'm sorry, I'd better be getting back to my work. Looks like there's an order from above not to talk about it. Phew, well, I think we've checked out everything relevant to this case. What are you two doing here? What are you doing here? Soren, shouldn't you be resting in bed? You're injured. How do you know about that? Never mind. My notebook. Have you seen my notebook? I can't find it anywhere. My notebook. I need my notebook. What's the matter with him? My notebook. I have to have it. Master Soren. Master Soren, I told you to stay in bed. My notebook. Here you go. Yes, this is it. So Soren gets emotionally unstable without that notebook of his. Phew. Looks like he's calmed down now. Soren, do you mind if I talk to you for a minute? I cannot allow you to do that. What if his wound were to open up again? He needs to rest. I guess you're right. Now, if you'll excuse us. Master Soren, let us retire. Alright. There they go. Pierce is right. I guess he really isn't in any condition to be questioned. Well, let's go back to the agency and sort through what we've learned. We're back. Anybody here? Oh, hi, boss. Athena, thought you were with Trucy. I guess you could say that I'm taking a short break. Enough about me. What about the investigation? Did you find out anything? Well, it turns out that the third person Ellen says she saw at the crime scene might have been Soren Sprocket. What? Really? I always thought he seemed suspicious. Thing is, by the time Soren got to the Vista deck, the murder had already occurred, apparently. No way. I don't buy that. Not for a second. It's a cover-up, I tell you. That's certainly a possibility. And as a lawyer, it's certainly a possibility I have to pursue, but what? It's your job, right? So pursue the heck out of it. Just do it. Yeah, but Is that really what's best for Ellen? Soren could be found guilty if the truth comes out tomorrow. But if we don't pursue this possibility, Ellen can be found guilty instead. Oh man, either way it sure doesn't spell out happily ever after for the two of them. So what are you gonna do, Mr. Wright? You can't let an innocent person get convicted. So I guess all I can really do is pursue the truth. Even if it ends up devastating Ellen. What a tough call to make. Still, there's always a chance, right? Maybe something will come up during the trial that will save their marriage. I hope so. I really do. Well, Maya, let's go. Break the news to Ellen, you mean? Yup. Mr. Wright, please take me with you. I bet I can help you counsel Ellen through this piece of bad news. Athena, I appreciate the offer, but don't you have somewhere else to be? Do I? Athena, what are you doing here? I've been looking all over for you. Come on now, let's get back to practicing. No, wait. My body can't take it anymore. Boss, you gotta help me. The lawyer always keeps their promises, Athena. But, boss... If you bail on me one more time, Athena, I'm going to use a real blade on you. Eek! Sorry, Athena, but somebody's gotta do it. Better you than me, though. Hang in there, kiddo. Come on, Maya. We better get going. I don't know. I really wonder about that Pierce. Yeah, I know what you mean. He seems to have a lot of power over everybody and everything, doesn't he? Actually, what I was really wondering about is that shoulder mech of his. I mean, it's pretty amazing how many things that tiny little contraption can do. Ooh, what if that mech is actually Pierce's true control center, like his brain? Maya? And what if somewhere in Sprocket Manor he has another shiny golden body? And then, during emergencies, he can switch bodies and become Super Pierce Nickety. That's what I get for trying to have a serious conversation with a super geek. I bet all Ellen wants is to start a happy new life with Soren. Yeah, I bet you're right. But do you think the truth will really set her free? All you can do is do your job to the best of your ability. And if we can bring Ellen joy that way, all the better, right? Maya. Either way, I think true happiness can only be found in the truth. What do you look at me like that for? I was just thinking about how wise that sounded. Looks like our little Maya's growing up. Would you knock it off? I'm trying to be serious here. Sorry. Hello, Ellen. How did your investigation go, Mr. Wright? Before I answer that, I need to ask you something. Was Soren with you when Mr. Bloomsbury attacked you in the reception hall? I'm sorry I kept it from you. I was afraid that he'd come under suspicion if I told you. So I kept quiet about it. I'm really sorry. I see. I thought it was probably something like that. Listen, Ellen, I'm afraid I had to make a very difficult decision based on what I found out. Kind of decision. This is very hard for me to say, but the mysterious person you saw at the scene of the crime was most likely Soren. What? In other words, in court tomorrow, I'm afraid I'll have to propose the possibility that Soren is the true culprit. No, Soren is innocent. No! Don't you see? If I don't try to pursue that line of thought, you'll be found guilty. No. Please, Ellen, calm down. Soren just can't be found guilty. I'd much rather I be found guilty instead. Ellen, you can't let yourself think like that. But, no. Marriage is for life, right? Do you really think you can run away from the truth and still be truly happy with him? Not married, so how can you possibly understand? Sometimes you just gotta do whatever it takes to make things work. But, Nick, you talked to her. Hey, don't just dump this all on me. Mr. Wright, I'm innocent, and Soren is too. So please, prove our innocence in court. I'll certainly do everything in my power. Just hope she doesn't lose control like this in court tomorrow. Well, we certainly got our work cut out for us if we're going to try and prove both of them innocent. But I think for today, that's going to do it for the stream. Next time we'll have to go back to court and see if we can figure out who the real culprit is. Until then, I hope you've enjoyed the DLC case for Spirit of Justice. I don't know if we'll be able to stream tomorrow. Might be Sunday, might be later. We'll just have to play it by ear. But until next time, have a good evening, and I'll see you later.